content of this podcast is intended for those of age. It may not be suitable for some audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
How we dreamed about a better life, holding you so close to me, in the backseat of your ride. We fell apart, thought we lost everything, just lost in a memory. And I sure hope you do remember me like I remember you. I remember you.
Okay, we are live. Okay, I made a mistake while preparing today's episode. Forgot to change the name of the title card for the episode in the intro. That's probably going to be left in there. Okay. Hello, one and all. Good morning, Agni. Starts now. I'm your host, Nodoka Hanamura, Queen of Battle of Us and Banter, joined by my co-hosts, Kirisame and Erik Mondrian. We are also joined today by our special guest host, Skye Inguki, also known as Rainee, or in world as Yuki's Spirit. She is a transgender, 22-year-old transgender woman from the West Coast United States who is mainly an active VRChat user who recently came to Second Life, which we'll be interviewing later on in the episode about her thoughts on SL and everything else. But to get started, we'll be talking about essentially what has happened in the over the past week or past month since we went off air and had our holiday season. As I mentioned in the last episode, I had never been to a proper New Year's party in Second Life. And the Prim drop in, God, I am slow today.
Bay City.
In Bay City. Thank you! In Bay City was absolutely spectacular. It was really fun. I managed to bring Rainee here along with Rui and Erik. I'm going to see about getting some of those images up on screen here in a second for people to see. It was mainly spent with me and Rui and Erik and all the other people we had invited, because it wasn't just the hosts of Good Morning Agni that was there. I had a bunch of friends tag along. We went in by Hilo from here in I think it was from here at the house in the Winterlands where I live. Then we moved northwest to Bay City, and the ride in was, if I recall, it was actually surprisingly smooth. We had how many people packed in there?
I think
8?
I think it was 6.
Yeah, 6 or 7 people.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to see where I put the other images. I think it's over in Windows, but for the one with everyone in it. But for let's pull up.
I was convinced that I gave you the images. Maybe it got left in the group chat.
Oh boy! Now we have video issues again. I swear on my life, this never ceases to annoy the hell out of me.
It annoys the hell out of anyone. Don't worry. If you need a picture, I got you covered.
Yeah, I
Or-
have the
I still have a few
I have
from
the
the
pictures.
thing.
It's
Oh
just
no.
that. Actually, why are we using this? Just use the
Oh.
video view and we'll change it over to desktop. Where in the hell is the image? It was this now. There we are.
Technical difficulties are to be expected.
Yes, they definitely are. Rainee, honey, are you there?
Yes,
Yes, I am.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure you're here with us. I mean, I don't want you to be left out of this of being in part of all the discussion. Let's go ahead and show one of the images I had now. This is actually a really nice image. I think it was one I took of me, Erik, and Rui. And I actually had, I think it was like a few hours before I had gotten Rui a new body. Got him the Freya body since that was on sale for the holidays. And I got him a dress from fucking, what was the name of the place? Oh, Lord Almighty. It was United Colors. Yes, United Colors. Very, very beautiful dresses and whatnot they have there. I highly recommend if you're looking for a dress that you visit them. It was genuinely a really fun night to see everyone everyone come to Bay City for a spectacular send off to 2021. Even though 2022 so far is seeming to be just as full of good and bad surprises as 2021 was. For starters, apparently Microsoft has bought Activision. I know that's something that Rainee wanted to discuss, but since we're SL oriented, we can't really discuss that. But it was just, I mean, it kind of sets the tone for this year, wouldn't you agree? Like something is the weirdness gets higher and higher with each passing year.
Yeah. It
Bill
is to be
Rosedale's returns to the
expected after all.
lab. No, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was about to say, like, after all this, like, stay inside for what seems to be 2 years is turning everyone a bit loopy. But hey, what can you do?
Yeah. It has been an interesting holiday season. We also had something else come up, believe it or not. If I can pull it up. Let's see. I should really have brought this up earlier. In essence, a group of people, two people, essentially on the Second Life forums, brought up, or started giving out Christmas presents. Mr. and Mrs. Anonymous. Let's see. Let me pull this up from my screen. I wish this would update properly.
Anonymous, like the YouTube creator.
No, okay, that's cute. That's real cute. Let's downscale it, why don't we? I should really just make these separate frickin' screens. Stretch screen. There we are. It looks a little janky. It doesn't show the background, but this is what it is. Essentially, Mr. Anonymous and his wife, quote unquote, were giving out gifts to residents in the forums at random, and then someone brought it up. Ghostspeed Racer, who said they were pleasantly surprised to see a gift in the marketplace by none other than Mr. Anonymous, who's going for the marketplace wish list of forum members and sending gifts. It was very interesting to see this come up of all things. Like, I've never seen this in SL before, where someone just goes around giving out Christmas gifts.
Is it really that rare?
In SL. I mean, people give out Christmas gifts to each other in SL all the time, but the thing is just like this Secret Santa kind of thing it's something I haven't seen before, and it really warms the cockles of my heart. Essentially, this is it is truly better to give than to receive, especially if I'm giving away the old nag's pin money. The only pin she owns is holding a note to my ass. If anyone has a stable and might sleep in over the holidays, I'd be much obliged. I do take up a little more room these days, as I no longer sleep standing up. In truth, I'm barely able to stand on a leg. I'll also need space for a few cases of comfort food and someone to pop open the cans for me. I understand the old cows and rubbing antlers, some of you. If you can't take me in, would you take her? Thank you all. I wish each of you a warm, magical holiday season and a much improved new year. Heaven knows I need one. And then he just topped it off with this image.
Hang on,
which
let me.
is genuinely.
Oh, that
it is. It's genuinely sweet, and I said it to them in the forum, so I wanted to say it to them again. Thank you very much for the gift. I would have shown it off on air, but I was in a rush and overslept, and they didn't really think about choosing my outfit. But they gave me a pair of boots that were on my wish list of all things. It's very nice to see people do that out of the kindness of their own hearts. For people they don't even know. No less.
Yeah, it keeps the good faith in humanity alive. You know?
Yeah.
It also goes to show that to the boomers that not everyone online is some stranger, and you can actually be kind to one another.
Mm-hmm.
That is definitely true. I do agree on that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other remarks from you or from Rui or Erik on holiday goings on in SL?
No, I think just a big thank you and shout out to Marianne McCann for, she's
definitely.
hosted the Bay City Prim Drop for I don't know how many years. I think I asked her, or someone asked her during the event, and I forget how many years she said it's been going on. I think like 10 years at least. I've been to several of them before, actually, so I missed last year's, but I was able to go to a few years past, and then I'm glad that you guys were all able to come to this one. Just shout out to Marianne and all the events that she puts on in Bay City. It's not the only one that she does, but she, the Prim Drop is definitely a big one. Mole Day, actually, by the way, I think is another one that she kind of helps organize, and that happens there in the fairgrounds in Bay City as well, and I think that's coming up on February 6th.
What day is it?
I think it's February 6th. I would have to double check, but I believe it's February 6th.
What's the name of the event?
Mole Day. It's like the Mole Appreciation Day, kind of.
Oh,
so,
Mole Day.
Yeah, since Bay City is basically, or was basically the first big LDPW project that the moles did, quite a number of years ago now, that's where they generally hold the Mole Appreciation Day every February.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Yeah, much respect to Marianne. It's not easy to, as someone who has had to run events in SL and elsewhere, it's not a cakewalk to maintain and get everything ready for an event like that. And much respect for her, and thanks so much for having us. But now we'll be getting on to the next subject today.
If I may, can I just
sure. What is it, really? Sure,
yeah,
man.
I just say that as the signature Second Life newbie of the podcast, the New Year's experience was fun, even though I literally stand in the corner and dance to myself because it's awkward talking to people online.
That's him in the corner.
Yeah.
That's him in the spot. Oh, by the way,
Yeah.
there we go. Forgot to mention I actually tried to put up some music for us that'll play while we're speaking. Hopefully I can turn it down a little bit so it's not flooding audio.
Yeah, it was but yeah, overall was a very sweet experience. Very fun. Would definitely not do it with anyone else though, because again, social interaction terrifies me.
Yeah.
I don't blame you
Here
there,
is an
honestly.
introvert.
I tend to be in the corner myself as well.
And yet you danced with me on the dance floor, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
All right, now let's get on to the next topic at hand. Rainee. As
Yeah.
I said before in the start of the podcast, Rainee here is a new Second Life resident who joined only a couple months ago. I actually met her through a mutual friend of mine who I also brought into SL a while back. Rainee here is a relatively active VRChat user and has been in VRC for how long?
I'd say, honestly, I forget when I first joined VRChat. I think maybe it was a couple years ago. I know one of my friends recently celebrated their 4th year in VRChat. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So they've been in VRChat way longer than me. I just happened to, be friends with Nodoka here. So.
Yeah. And Rainee is a very good friend of mine. We actually kind of really gotten together more or less really well since we met. But I wanted to discuss things with you, as many people can attest that some of our residents have left SL for what they see as greener pastures in VRChat, which in some ways it can be considered valid. I mean, for one, there is the immersivity that VRChat offers for virtual reality, which Second Life has been struggling to even be capable of producing. And I wanted to bring her on to have a different perspective on things. As a VRChat user who has become a Second Life resident, rather than the other way around. I wanted to know your thoughts on. I wanted you to share your thoughts on Second Life so far and how it compares to how you interact in VRChat, and because I remember you had some positive things to talk about SL when it comes to the world itself.
Well, I mean, just one more time, just so I have that question right. Can you repeat that for me?
Essentially, I wanted to ask you, how are you finding SL so far? What do you think of Second Life compared to VRChat?
Well, I will say that there are some benefits to being in SL. For example, the very modular avatar system where you can just pick and choose what parts you want. I will say that's probably a massive upside on VRChat. Probably what I hate the most, though, is I have to spend real-life money to get this in-game currency, and then I have to spend this in-game currency to get, what I want. When in VRChat, I can probably, hop into a public avatar world, find something that suits me, because there's an avatar for everyone if you just look around in VRChat, and you just easily grab a model for free. And usually, sometimes even, you could find, really optimized ones.
Yeah, I do agree that VRChat does have that going for it. It kind of has that ease of access to a large swath of low-cost or free avatars that are available to users. But, I mean, for someone who has been in VRChat for a hot minute, I would say about 6 months, 8 months, maybe. I personally don't really like how VRChat handles its avatar system. I do get the concern about avatars in SL and how VRChat is, like, you can pick out an avatar that suits you and how streamlined it is compared to SL. But it lacks the customization to make an avatar your own, because in reality, an avatar is supposed to be the ideal representation of yourself in a virtual space. And I would rather have this avatar. As much as I love my Hoppo avatar in VRChat, I would much rather have my SL avatar in World.
Are you saying that? Okay. Is what you're saying influenced by the fact that you also struggled with VRChat's avatar implementation? Because I remember you having like a headache or two with making
it does also tie into that a little.
Yeah.
For those not in the loop, to create an avatar in VRChat requires you to understand Blender, requires you to understand how to use shaders and make textures in VR or in Unity, the engine that VRChat is based on. Whereas, well, it's a similar case in Second Life. The thing is that to create an avatar in SL is a lot more, like Rainee said, it's a lot more modularized. It's easier to put 2 and 2 together to make 4. You can just put the avatar together more or less. But with VRChat, you're kind of stuck with whatever that avatar creator had intended for that avatar. Which brings me to an interesting conundrum that plagues both VRChat and Second Life, and that's optimization. VRChat, while it is a lot more optimized for VR, and it runs better than SL. I'm not going to deny that. To deny that would be an exercise in lying to oneself. It seems to me that Second Life and VRChat content creators overwhelmingly disregard developer guidelines for what is considered optimized content. For instance, I mean, there are so many avatars. All the avatars I have, barely any of them in VRChat are anywhere near a yellow or green optimization status. They're almost always red.
Yes, the red marker.
Yeah.
I will say this.
Yeah.
Apologies, cut you off. I will say this. Sometimes that you do find those green or yellow models, and it's like a blessing, or like just like it's a needle in a haystack. Like, yes, they are there. It's just sometimes hard to find. Especially depending on if you go and buy your models from like Booth, or if you hop in like a Discord server. Because sometimes in the Discord server for VRChat, I know one called VRC Traders. They advertise other people's VRC models. This is actually how I got one of my own called Comfy Trash. Completely adorable, but it is in the red menu because of some of the things that it has. One thing I actually do kind of want to talk about is the NSFW aspect of both VRChat and Second Life.
Yeah, I will get to that, but I wanted to actually compare the whole optimization issue to Second Life for a moment, because just for those who might come across this may not be familiar. With Second Life, we have a very big problem with content optimization. I've gone on tirades on Twitter about it numerous times, complaining about how content creators, the oldest joke I have about it is that I remember years ago talking with someone about mesh optimization. I think it was somewhere at or in the New Citizens Incorporated chat, or it was in I don't know, it was somewhere on SL. Some developer deadass modeled a mesh zipper with a shit ton of vertices and faces. I can't remember, I don't have an image of it or any kind of source for it, but it was like, but you can look around SL and you can see that this is a commonplace issue, not just with that one object, but with multiple things, where content creators will maximize the use of vertices to give higher detail to items, when in all reality, it's detrimental.
Yeah.
In computer science, there is a concept with 3D graphics known as which is essentially just diminishing returns. The more detailed an object is, the less of a difference it makes. Compare, there's an image that was around a while back.
If only Yandere Dev knew about diminishing returns. Maybe then he would finish his game. But yeah, nah, it's unnecessary when people do that. It's like, come on, it's a Zipa mate. It's not gonna be like a full-fledged model. Surely you can just chip out on a zipper.
I'd say
Okay,
that's
this is-
probably the problem, though, because especially since everyone is used to like the really good-looking games, like for
yes.
example, Halo Infinite, people are like, okay, we need more of this to make it look.
Graphics
I
of
think
everything.
that's probably the problem.
Yeah, the
But that
graphics is
people
everything.
don't realize that you can still get good-looking things, also having an optimized model.
Yeah, going back to what I was saying, there was a picture going around, this is it, that essentially is an example of what I was talking about. When you multiply the amount of vertices, or more realistically, or more accurately, triangles in a model, you essentially start to get diminishing returns. Note how the 6,000 triangle mesh of this bust of Ludwig van Beethoven looks a lot more optimized, or not optimized, looks a lot nicer than the one that's 60. And notice how there's barely any difference from the 6,000 to 60,000. And this is an issue that I saw with Legacy, Mesh Project Legacy. When I was complaining about it using a lot of triangles, because it's actually one of the heavier bodies when it comes to how many triangles it has. One person, I shit you not, said it's because it's more higher definition, and it's better because of that. It's higher quality, higher detail. Like, these people don't understand the concept of diminishing returns. I don't like having to talk down to my fellow residents. I hate it, but some people don't seem to understand that diminishing returns in 3D graphics is a thing. There's only so much you can do with a certain thing before what you're doing essentially is just adding on stress for the hell of it.
Yeah, and I mean, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say also to both your point and Rainee's, the other thing is that I think a lot of people, don't realize that in these high-end 3D, games, like Halo and other ones that have, incredible graphics, the developers are optimizing. They have to. And they know they can, control, of course, the experience a lot more. So, it's interesting because I forget exactly what site it was on, but there was a website, or is a website, I think CG Obsession possibly, where he's outlining how many triangles a scene or characters would have in these very high-end video games, and there's also forum posts you can find on the same subject, and it's a fraction of what anything you might get in SL would be. Like the higher end avatar bodies in SL are massively higher in triangles than even what we consider to be really high end AAA video game graphics.
Yeah. It does boil down to people. The developers the developers of content in SL, which for Does Not in the Loop, it's not Linden Labs' fault. It's people who are making things like the chair, the body I'm wearing, the little tapestry on the wall over there. The people who make the content in SL who don't understand how to effectively optimize their mesh so it increases the frame rate of the viewer. My aspiration for SL when it comes to that is that hopefully one day we can implement VR, and we seem to be heading in that direction. But enough of that. We need to let Rainee speak because I've been talking for too long like the dumb bitch I am. Rainee, you wanted to speak about something regarding the NSFW situation in both SL and VRChat?
Yes, with the NSFW and also like with the clothing that I've seen in SL. I mean, VRChat probably has this problem too. I just haven't really noticed it as much yet. Is in SL, you either see too much of too casual or too lewd or too sexy. Never really a nice niche of both. It's rare to find that. Or even just like too cute, things like that. So it's hard to find that nice balance where it just both of it click together. That's just what I've noticed. Another thing with the NSFW life and of SL and VRChat, one thing I've noticed is, obviously, I mean, this is something everyone knows, SL's been banned on Twitch, yet VRChat hasn't. Why is that?
It does raise genuine questions about whether it does raise genuine questions about why VRChat isn't banned, because there is NSFW content that activity that goes on there. It's not like it's an open secret that lewd activity happens in VRChat.
I think I noticed this one Reddit post. I was browsing on the VRChat subreddit where they were talking about how 7-year-olds on VRChat had somehow gotten their hands on an NSFW model and like completely showing all the naked parts, including the penis. I'll just say it like that.
Yeah.
So that was quite surprising to me, and people were talking about how we could try to prevent that.
Yeah, and that's kind of why Linden Lab has, for the almost entire span of its life, been age gated to 16 or older. And even when you are 16 or 17, it's heavily restricted in what you can do, what you can buy. It's a very interesting situation for VRChat right now with that, because it leaves people exposed to risks of engaging in sexual activity with minors. It exposes minors to sexual activity when they shouldn't be.
I will
as someone who has seen both sides of that situation, both seeing adults getting duped into that kind of thing when they don't even know who they're actually engaging in it with, and also seeing minors going out and about and doing that kind of stuff, it just does not sit right with me. Because I mean, coming from someone who watched porn as a kid, I get that. I understand. You gotta get the hormones and whatnot are gonna be raging one way or another. And I genuinely believe that, as lewd and perverse as this sounds, that everyone as a teenager has at least watched porn at least once before. At
least once. Like, it doesn't matter if you block it or whatever. The kids will try to find a way around it. So they would have seen it in one way or another. Even on TV, there's something like that.
Yes, I will say that how hypersexualized media has gotten nowadays.
Fun fact about
how things like porn is rampant on TikTok, on Twitter. I don't think, is it on TikTok? I mean, I don't really.
I mean, it gets heavily like called out and removed. But there are like some NSFW things on there that you really shouldn't have. Like this is one thing. Some things can be age restricted, like VRChat, 13+. Yet we still see 7, 8, 6, 5-year-olds on it.
Yeah, it seems that they just don't seem to care about COPPA restrictions.
Well, isn't it? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Two things. First, fun fact about Portugal: we actually have, like, in regards to like sex on TV, we actually have like an announcement that does say like, hey, you see this red circle? This means that there's nudity and extreme violence on screen. This is not suitable for minors. So I thought I wanted to point that out. And secondly, I'm gonna go on a limb and say this is the public PSA for the Good Morning Agni podcast. Raise your fucking kids. We don't want them in online spaces. They're not ready for us. And
Definitely.
we are not ready
I
for
will
them.
say that.
6, 7, 8, 9. I was even 10 or 11-year-olds should not be on the internet. I would follow COPPA guidelines, and I would just say
What's the age limit for Roblox?
I think it's 13.
Okay, they're definitely younger than
13
that
is the limit, and even
for those not in the U.S., COPPA or the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act is essentially a piece of legislation that went into law. I think it was back in 2003. I know.
I think something like that.
I think
it wasn't
in the mid to early 2000s.
Yeah.
Essentially, it sets a somewhat restriction on. It's technically just for their privacy, but due to how restrictive it is for minors to when their information to be accessed online by companies and whatnot, it's gotten to the point. It's where the companies just say, if you are under 13 and you fall under COPPA protections, we cannot service you because we can't put up with having to take in permission slips from everyone's parents and confirm information and have to babysit you all when your parents should be doing that in the first place. And it boils down to, you should not be here. Get out. They shouldn't even be having VR headsets at that age. Because the thing is that because the overall majority of these kids that have VRChat, aren't they just using Quests since they're so cheap to get your hands on?
I think
pretty
so.
much. In VRChat we call them questies. Some people are quite toxic to them. For me, in general, I don't really care. More people to hang around with, more people to have fun with in VRChat. The only problem is, please monitor your kids, especially if they're using VR. Monitor what your kids are doing. I get it, the internet is a hard thing to get. There's classes that probably your local library can teach you, or even like probably your oldest, like, you know, who knows about the internet can probably teach you at least something. Just keep an eye on what they're doing at least. Don't like break into the room and be like, what are you doing? No, value their privacy as well.
The belt.
Talk it out with them.
Yeah, parenting definitely is a fine line when it comes to children and the internet and children's privacy and whatnot. I mean, I've always been a staunch advocate of demanding that. Complaining about children and children's parents online, and how they don't properly aren't properly taken care of. And they expect the government to be responsible to take care of it. Like,
for everything, or companies, or Twitch streamers.
Hilariously enough, Linden Lab was in hot water several years ago. Because several years ago, back like in the late 2000s, Erik, wasn't it? The whole FBI, CSI shit show that happened that pretty much caused Zynga to come into being.
Yeah, it's been a while. The years blur together, but I think it was around that time where there was, and they had the age play. The interesting thing I was going to say with the questies, as Rainee was saying, it's like I do see quite a lot on social media, and like articles about, you know, kids getting these quests as you know, the Oculus or Meta Quest as Christmas gifts, and they're really happy to get them, and it's like there's like a very fine print warning on the box apparently about the age, and like, you know, only this age and up should be using this, and I think, you know, whether it's Meta's fault partially for, you know, not making this a bigger thing on the box, it's like in one tiny little corner.
Yeah, everyone knows that old people can't read the fine print.
Well, and people don't read it anyway, even if they can, like...
Interrupt for a second to say one thing. Does anyone here even read a fucking EULA?
Sometimes.
I mean, honestly, really, for me, I'm just like, I'm gonna go find something that's basically summarized it. Because it's so much of legal mumbo-jumbo that a lot of people who don't really understand would not get. Be like, So
even if someone like me who understands legal mumbo jumbo, quote unquote, it's still a fucking mouthful.
It's not the most fun thing to like wade through,
It's
but
for YouTube because that knows whether or not YouTube is fucking up, and usually they are. So it's a mute point. So.
well, yeah. I mean, just having the age warning on the box, but people don't even read that, it seems like. But I think the challenge is, like Rainee was saying, people might not really get it. I think if a kid is in a VR headset, I mean, I think you can you do like pass through on a Quest where you get it to like a TV screen, or is that only?
I believe you can do that. I believe so.
Okay.
All a Quest is just an over-glorified VR headset, standalone VR headset with Android loaded in.
Yeah, pretty much, actually, yeah.
Well, because I wonder, like, how... That's the problem, of course. Like, if there are parents who are thinking, oh, well, we see our kids, they're right there, they have the headset on, they don't know what they're looking at. And the other thing, too, is I think that maybe with VRChat or with some of these social VR platforms, of course, VRChat being the one we're talking about right now, I think if parents see their kids playing something like Fortnite, let's say, on a TV or a phone, whatever, and they have friends and they're talking, they think, okay, but like I don't think a lot of people realize that there is still, I mean, there's so much talk now about like, oh, Fortnite is the metaverse, and yeah, you can create your own things there, but it's still much more limited than something like VRChat.
So that still fucking irks me how people call individual platforms metaverse.
The metaverse.
Makes you scream.
No.
But it's like more controlled by
Epic. That's not how it works!
It's not how it works, but the thing is, you see, with Fortnite is still largely controlled by Epic in terms of what people can create and what appears there.
Yeah.
So I feel like if parents get used to the idea of their kids being in a game like Fortnite and having friends, they don't realize maybe all the time that VRChat is a very different thing, and they can encounter things that are very different. It's not controlled by Epic. The content is not all licensed Marvel characters or whatever Fortnite is doing these days. There's it's. I feel like people get the wrong idea and mix up the platforms, how free they are, and what the kids can potentially see.
Yes.
No, that is the biggest point.
It does beg the question as to what in the world VRChat is going to do about this, because it seems to me that things are going to boil up into the same problem that Second Life had with Zendra, or the whole FBI and CSI scandal that essentially caused Zendra to come into being. For those out of the loop, back in the late 2000s, Linden Lab got in hot water and was accused of engaging in allowing for sex trafficking and sexual activity of minors to go on Second Life, even though, at least with the latter, no such thing was occurring. Or at least as far as I'm aware. I mean, as far as I'm aware, Linden Lab, I think, didn't they back then, even before the CSI ban, they had like age requirement, they had to have you ID verified?
I'm looking to see if I can find any article or
I know back in the day they had ID verification before they retired it. Essentially, when it comes down to brass tacks, the situation with VRChat is looking a lot like Second Life in its early years during its renaissance, right around the time it started to crack, started to really start to fall. Now hear me out. I do wish VRChat the best. I do hope that they figure out some kind of solution to this problem that doesn't involve, banning NSFW content outright. I mean, maybe VRChat could introduce an 18+ tag or something on worlds and instances that are supposed to be 18+ and require age verification of some sort. Possibly. I mean, that would be a very good solution to the problem. I mean, it wouldn't deter the determined minors who would just take a copy of their parents' ID or something. Or just get a fake ID or some shit like that. But that's at that point, the onus of the responsibility for the problem is not on VRChat, because VRChat's not expected to because VRChat's expected to at least try and keep their hands clean. They did in this hypothetical scenario. I mean, the same thing would happen with Second Life. I'm pretty certain. I'm fairly fairly certain that at least one minor has tried to use their parents' ID to get into Second Life when they were underage. Back when the age verification was a thing. Am I wrong? I mean, think about it. One kid's gotta be determined enough to do that.
By the way, I'm looking. I think the FBI thing might have been more related to gambling in this cell. I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, gambling. The other sin in SL. One thing I wanted to discuss about VRChat and SL is that I would and this is something that I think I may have mentioned to Rainee a while back. Udon chips, which is a virtual currency that has recently, an unofficial virtual currency that has essentially started to be phased in a lot of virtual worlds in VRChat, which is kind of decentralized. Has kind of gotten a few people concerned about how that would affect the future of VRChat and how it'll impact the platform. And I remember talking to people in the VRChat subreddit about it a while back, and how people were like, oh, what about places that will require you to pay a lot of money to get in or even to access it? And I was talking from a perspective of someone in Second Life, because for those who are not aware, that system is actually integrated in Second Life. If a landowner sets it up so you can be required to pay a amount of money to access a parcel. There's actually one up the street from my house that actually is configured just like that, albeit to an exorbitant amount of money for no reason whatsoever, even though the parcel is there's nothing but woodlands in that parcel, no kind of club or some kind of exclusive thing, unless it's in a skybox. And even then, those cash lines only go up to like the same distance as band lines. So if you're trying to keep people out of a skybox, you're up shit creek there. But I wanted your take on that, Rainee. If VRChat ever adopts a virtual currency, which like Second Life has, and it possibly integrates like a virtual marketplace for avatars, for assets to use in worlds and stuff like that. What would your take on that be?
Well, there are rumors of the VRChat dev team doing something like that. So I really wouldn't be sure. I mean, seeing how SL has done it, SL has like completely thrived having that. The only problem is like the real life to virtual currency is kind of annoying. So I'm in the middle of that. I have to wait to see how it goes. It could cause VRChat to thrive, but at the same time, it could end up being a gatekeep to people who, let's say, may not have the money to buy certain things.
Yeah, it does raise that concern exponentially, because I know there are people in Second Life who are turned away by the fact that, oh, you have to spend money, you have to pay money to do this. It's free game, but you have to spend money. But the thing is, and I always justify it for this. The thing is about Second Life is that yes, you're paying with money. But when you buy the content in World or in the marketplace or wherever in Second Life, the money you spend on these products goes to the people who made them directly. Yes, Linden Lad takes their small cut for marketplace fees, and they technically are holding on to the money in a pseudo escrow until it's cashed out. But the thing is that people can use that money for products as well. They can use that for content in SL. They can use that to pay tier. They can use that to keep. They can use it for lots of things in SL.
I will.
Unlike with other platforms and video games and whatnot, where you're just giving money to the developer, you're giving back to the community that you're participating in a way.
I will also say this. In Worlds, there's like where they advertise their Patreon, their Ko-Fi. I believe even the creators have gone onto Booth, onto Gumbo to advertise their worlds that you can download or models. So I mean, there are ways to support them through there. One thing I will say is, and this is going to be a little bit off topic with what I'm saying, we have in VRChat and like I think some other games too that are part of this. It's called VCat. Sometimes there'll be like VCat for shaders, one for avatars, one for worlds. The most popular one will probably be the VCat for avatars. There's even avatars that like showcase avatars as well that are from quote-unquote VCat. But the biggest one probably would be VCat, where it shows off all the fun things, like things people have made for prefabs, weapons, other things.
The loop, VCat would probably be equivalent to seasonal events in SL. For example, the Crystal Heart Festival, which is one of my favorite shopping events in Second Life. It's literally something I look forward to every year. Things like that essentially happen. VCat it takes from the Komiket, which is a Japanese doujin amateur artist market event that happens in Tokyo, and I think it's in Tokyo every spring. Tokyo Big Sight at Tokyo Big Sight.
It happens in summer, and there's two Comicats. There's winter Comicat and there's summer Comicat.
Yeah, summer Comicat and winter Comicat. It happens twice a year. Actually, I think Comicat is happening sometime like this month or next month, isn't it?
I don't know the dates. If I did, I would book a plane ticket and just go in the front lines to get my merch.
Oh yeah, I know, right? If I go to Japan, I'm definitely going to go to Comic.
Next one is in August.
To correct myself on the VCat, it's not worlds. So the VCat that I'm talking about combines the world shaders and other things all into one. While there's also game VCat, music VCat, and comic VCat, where they have like the apps. You can go into the VRChat world and you can just browse or listen to all the music.
Yeah. I think I've been to one and I found the. Wait, no, that was a Akihabara exhibit. It wasn't a VCat. But I still saw some like models for sale. Like I think there was one from Majikami.
I believe so, yeah. And actually, one thing I forgot to mention way earlier, to touch on a past thing about the avatars, you don't really need to know Blender. There are like free programs you can use, like VRoid, to make your model for
good old VRoid.
VRChat.
VRoid, Ray Player U, I think it was called.
Yeah.
They all have their issues, and there are less legitimate ways of doing it. Like, I know people have used an erotic game, Honey Select 2.
Yeah.
Cut and exported them into Unity. Though I've heard it's a bit of a nightmare to do.
It is a bit of a nightmare, but there are programs that can help you out with that. But also, you don't even need to use Blender. You could probably use like another 3D modeling program that you're used to. Like I think, what was that other one? I know there's another 3D modeling program that I forget that also works. I just forget what it is. But you don't have to like learn Blender.
Yeah, but Blender is free.
Or Maya.
You could use Maya if you're familiar with Maya. You could use Maya. You could use Cinema 4D. That studio, whichever one you're familiar with and you already have and know, you can use that.
Yeah, it's just like for your average Joe who isn't versed in 3D graphics and things like that, and even remote degree, like me and Rainee are, or Erik and Rui are. The issue comes that people aren't going to understand how to do it, because, like, for example, Second Life user base. You have people who are in their 30s and 40s who are thankful enough that they know how to use Second Life, let alone how to use Blender, for example. You also have people who are more tech illiterate, or some people who who are already having a field day trying to grasp something like SL, which I want to talk to you about onboarding, because I want to know how it was getting used to SL. But to wrap up what I was talking about, when it comes down to it, SL and VRChat are kind of kindred in a way. We're two very different platforms, but we do with very different applications of how to do things as a virtual world. But I do believe that we do share a common aspiration to create and build and explore. I remember being with friends and VRChat and seeing this massive, beautiful colony ship, which was like, it was like the cylindrical world with buildings. It was like a city, but on the inside of a cylinder, more or less.
It's neat.
Think like the Halo ring, but elongated, more or less.
That's really nice.
It was beautiful. There was a mountain in the distance. You could see it by just looking up and to the right. It was wild, and I really want to go back there and see how and show it and take some pictures and show it off.
I've actually if you want some pictures, I got like a picture of one wall that I was in yesterday here. I'll just upload it here. Hang on. This is one of the pictures I took like just yesterday in the world that I found, and it was just beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
you have people in the Second Life community that are experienced photographers, virtual photographers, who are very capable. Hell, Sarah Doherty, a very close friend of mine and a co-head of the Mirai Group SL division, made a. Let me pull this up so everyone can see. No, that's not it. There we go. Switching over to it now. This essentially is what essentially is what Rainee was showing. And it's very beautiful. And I'm fairly certain something like it could be made in SL too. And I've seen many pictures. You can go on Flickr and find thousands of very well-made pictures of Second Life, be it of other avatars, still life, all sorts of photography in SL. It's a photographer's playground, and I can see VRChat kind of being the same way. While I've complained often about VRChat's limitations in terms of its size and interconnectivity, like how with SL's mainland, for example, there really isn't anything like it in VRChat. How there really isn't anything like it in any other virtual world outside of like OpenSim or Active Worlds. But when it comes down to it, the two platforms do kind of have something in common in a way. And that's that they both have the same spirit of self-expression, creativity, and the desire to try and push the boundaries of virtual world technology and virtual worlds as a concept.
Yeah.
And I feel, if anything, that if it goes down the route that I hope it will, that the whole race to the metaverse that people are clamoring about, hopefully ends up with SL and VRC being two of the big competitors in the space.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Because I do see that SL still has a lot of potential in it. And VRChat, if it's managed and run right, I could see it still doing quite well for itself. I mean, for fuck's sake, its user base, or its user concurrency is superseded that of SL, apparently.
Definitely.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
would say that's probably what has contributed to VRChat as a whole.
Yeah. Is that it's got a lot of people online at one time, and that concurrency is something that SL has struggled with for a while because we haven't lost users as much as we've had like a net neutral loss in game, where people will, at least with like user currency, at least up until the COVID-19 pandemic, then we saw it shoot up a little bit with everyone being at home, and it still seems to be that way. But anywho, I wanted to on the topic of what Rainee wanted to speak about. What was it you were wanting to talk about once when I was done?
You know, I entirely forgot.
Yeah, I speak too much for my own good.
We just went on a whole bloody rant.
I mean, honestly though, it's good because sometimes you end up from hopping from like one topic to another, but like it's good though because it gives us things to talk about. I guess honestly, let me think of
that reminds me. I wanted to say something a while back when we were still discussing, little shits on the internet. Two things. When you said that, I believe, as someone who was adopted in the internet age since 7 years old, I mostly stayed away from social media, and I believe that's how it should be. Like, just get a social media when you're 13, and even then be cautious. That's like I legitimately don't think like kids should be away from the internet because if you know what you're doing, and if you have parents that actually talk to you and do stuff, not just throw an iPad at your face and say entertain yourself, then the internet's all right. Social media is the problem. And the current landscape.
When I think about it for a second, I actually kind of realize that it all ties into a bigger societal problem about.
Yeah.
Because you think about it, the parents are having to raise what's the average child per household? Like two kids, 2 kids, at least in the United States.
1, 2 kids. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not easy, especially if the person in question doesn't have any kind of solid money coming in.
No, and the thing is, even now,
also, the media landscape has changed a lot.
Yes, it has.
It's become Twitch is now. Oh wait, no.
Yeah, I was still talking. So.
Hang on, I'm breaking up. I'm breaking up. Fuck. Okay, my existence has stabilized.
Good. Exactly.
I was saying
we don't need a bunny rabbit phasing in and out of existence. That's not very good. I
am one with second. I become one with second life. I was about to say the media landscape has changed.
Okay. I know the media. I wanted to get this off my chest before I forget.
Yeah, go ahead, because I'm currently.
Yeah, the thing is that parents have it hard enough having to work probably 2 jobs between the mother and the father. If even the child is lucky enough to grow up in a household that has a complete as the conservatives like to call it a nuclear family style household. You have the situation where there's not a whole lot of time for the parents to take care of bills, to put food on the table, to cook dinner, to go to work, to spend time with the kids and actually entertain them. So that's probably why they default to such things. Just 1 second. Go ahead. Let's go ahead and continue. Rainee, did you find out what you were wanted to talk about earlier?
No, but I do have something else I want to talk about.
Sure. Go ahead and shoot.
relationships, like finding your significant other in either VR or Second Life. People have done that. I was just quickly browsing the VRChat subreddit.
People have been married in SL, both for real and as an in-world thing. People have... I'm fairly certain people probably have been married in VRChat. Hell, I remember back in Active Worlds, marriages were commonplace. People would put the letter O next to their name to signify that they were married to someone. They were in-world married to someone.
Something, this VRChat couple had finally met in real life, and I'm happy for them, because if you think of, like Second Life, again, it's just like you're hanging out in a club IRL, or you run into someone, you strike a conversation, you're like, this person seems really cool, I want to keep being friends with them, and eventually, it evolves into feelings. It's like that, it's the same thing, especially when you do like a game, Call of Duty, Roblox, Minecraft, whatever game, like you eventually will somehow find your way to the one that you feel like is for you.
Yeah,
that's what I also love about VRChat, Second Life, is that every day is a chance for you to meet someone that you might fall in love with someday. That's the beauty of the metaverse, basically, is you can hang out with friends no matter how far you are. You can make friends no matter how far you are. Your model or your avatar basically depicts your personality. Because you don't see people's real face. You just hear their voice. You see, the way they act, the way they talk in Second Life there, or VRChat, and their model, or avatar, or whatever. And that just basically depicts their personality. And you could probably fall in love with that. And when you meet them in real life, you're like, I don't care the hell they look like. That's the person I fell in love with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It speaks volumes about the whole dilemma with boomer types and how they would often say that, oh, it's online, it's not real. What does it matter? You're not out having a physical relationship with someone, and behind a screen. And that has irked me.
Or even in danger of getting. Never mind, I'm actually not going to say, because could be a trigger warning for some people. But, you're being safe online, at least somewhat, provided as, you're still aware of, this person might have really off vibes.
Yeah. I mean, you can online, you can make friends. You can find the person you love. And it doesn't... At the end of the day, physical interactions are no better than virtual ones. They're no different. It's just that you're lacking the physical interaction, and even then, give it time. With the if full immersion virtual reality systems, fivers, much like how we've seen in Sword Art Online, how we've seen in Dot Hack, how we've seen in Ready Player One, I think, even, I don't know, but multiple fictional stories and whatnot. We could potentially see that physical boundary become a pseudo-physical one and have that break down. We don't need to see each other physically anymore. We could see each other in a virtual world of our own creation without having to be physically together. And that's kind of one of the things that I personally have been aspiring for and hoping that I get to partake in my lifetime. Because I have, for the longest time, been a transhumanist. I've always seen virtual worlds as an outlet for defining who I want to be, both physically and socially. When it comes down to it all, it feels to me that virtual worlds in their entirety have the potential to change the way we look at the human race in an intrapersonal aspect, as well as how we look at the world, the physical world, and how we look at technology. These are genuinely interesting times that we live in right now.
Speaking of looking at technology, virtual worlds, and giving a retrospective on the human condition, and I know I'm jumping off topics here. I just thought this would be a good segue. Aren't you working on something, Nikki?
Yes, I am. I actually have a project that me and a few others, me and people at Mondrian Group and a few others are working on right now, which we will be announcing at the end of this episode. But we should probably move on to the next topic.
Yeah,
Be here
and
for the rest of the
topic.
show. I wanted to thank Rainee for her introspective on SL and her thoughts on it. And I do remember. Any last thoughts you wanted to bring up before we move on to the next subject?
Not really, from what I can think so far. You'll probably have to get back to me on that later.
No, I am genuinely happy, and I know there are quite a few people that are probably very happy to know that you decided to at least give Second Life a try and to have adopted it as well. Adopted it as well as you have.
I will say this. VRChat will always be my home. Well, I can see Second Life being as a place to visit, maybe consider a second home, but no matter what, VRChat's always my home.
Holiday house.
Oh yes. Like,
It's where I belong.
It's the reverse for me. SL is my home, and VRChat is just a place I go to.
The holiday resort.
But speaking of Second Life, we actually have some very crazy news that I thought I would never hear again. Philip Rosedale has returned to the lab. I was speechless when I heard the news.
Now, okay, so here's
Wasn't
the
he
thing.
the guy that we talked about last episode?
Yes, we talked about him last episode. We brought up his an article featuring him about his thoughts on the Metaverse.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, the month after, he comes back to Second Life. According to TechCrunch, the creator of one of the earliest and most enduringly iconic virtual worlds is returning to his roots. Second Life's founder Philip Rosedale rejoined a company he founded in 1999 as a strategic advisor after High Fidelity, the spatial audio company Rosedale co-founded in 2014, invested in Second Life's developer Linden Lab. The deal includes an unspecified cash investment, relevant patents, and some members of its development team. No one has come close to building a virtual world like Second Life, Rosedale said in a press release. Big tech giving away VR headsets and building a metaverse on their ad-driven behavior modification platforms is going to create a magical single digital utopia for everyone. Second Life has managed to create both a positive, enriching experience for its residents, with room for millions to join, and build a thriving subscription-based business at the same time. Virtual worlds don't need to be dystopias. As companies like Meta launch their own visions for the metaverse, Rosedale has remained a vocal critic of some of the dynamics that underpin the current era of online life, from ad-based social networks to the environmental impact of energy generated by Bitcoin mining operations. While few Roblox users are older enough to have more than a passing familiarity with Second Life, if that, Rosedale's virtual social platform pioneered many of the concepts that have only very recently been hyped under the umbrella of the metaverse. Second Life explored notions of digital identity, virtual real estate, digital economies, and online multiplayer ecosystems in the early 2000s, back when Facebook only existed to connect students at elite universities. Rosedale is already regularly in communication with executive chairman of Linden, Brad Oberwager, according to the company, but will significantly deepen his involvement in the platform's product plans and the new advisory role. And High Fidelity's current work remains extremely relevant to Second Life's Second Life. A number of social platforms recently added spatial audio to create more immersive experiences, and some of them, like Clubhouse, are licensing High Fidelity's code to pull it off. Since Philips started Second Life in 1999, its visionary approach has not only stood the test of time, but positioned it for the future. Funnily enough, Second Life wasn't started in 1999, it was technically started in 2003, but Linden Lab was started back in 99, so it's probably an error on Brad's part. He and the High Fidelity team have unmatched experience, and I can't wait to capitalize on the vast opportunity in front of us. With Rosedale back in the fold, it seems like Linden Lab is interested in tapping into that early mover magic. But Second Life has a long way to go to claw its way back into relevance. Fortnite maker Epic, Roblox, and Meta, and myriad other major companies are making big on a near future, or early to present, depending on who you ask, a virtual world populated by digital identities with endless roku of virtual goods on offer. Rosedale's own perspective isn't likely to imitate the glimpses into the metaverse some platforms offer now, so it'll be interesting to see how someone who's been thinking about these issues for 20 years envisions the virtual worlds that companies are suddenly so keen on all of us moving into.
So in other
yeah.
Go ahead. No, I was just saying, like, so in other words, Mr. Philip looked at what fucking Zuckerberg was doing, and he said, he rolled up his sleeves and was like, not in my watch, and strolled back to Linden Lab. That's my headcanon. He literally said, nah, fuck this, I'm going to show Zuckerberg what the fuck is up.
Yeah. Oh, that actually reminds me of something I saw on the SL subreddit that is relevant to this whole situation of this upcoming Cold War between metaverse platforms.
Oh, we're talking about the horny propaganda?
Yes, the horny propaganda.
Yeah, the horny anti-Zuck propaganda.
Alright, let's pull that up on the screen. This is what I saw on the SL subreddit recently, and this is not a Linden Lab made work. This is actually fan made. You're creating a metaverse. How adorable! We've been doing this since 2003. While I don't agree with the concept of the individual metaverse, I just love the idea and seeing how well this is pulled off.
Yeah. Like every time we talk about like the metaverse, I'm always excited to see people dunking on it. It's like, nah, Facebook, know your place. It's like that gift from Filthy Frank. Know your place, trash.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, it's morally correct to make fun of Zuckerberg.
It's always morally correct to make fun of Mark Zuckerberg. When is it not? On the topic of Philip Rosedale's return, it's genuinely an interesting time for Second Life as a whole to see how things are going to change around here. I've heard mixed opinions on the whole situation.
How so?
Well, some people have raised concerns about what if Philip is going to try and implement cryptocurrency into Second Life, and I genuinely doubt that that's going to be the case. Because Philip Rosedale has kind of leaned towards being more of a critic of cryptocurrencies. I would say he's open to the idea of them, but he's just not on board with the concept. In as much as many of the extreme hard NFT and crypto whores are.
Isn't Linden... Okay, no, I'm gonna say something really fucking stupid.
Yeah,
but,
everyone cover your ears.
Like, isn't Linden dollars a sort of cryptocurrency?
No.
I know you...
It's virtual
No.
currency.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
virtual currency, not a crypto. Virtual currencies and cryptocurrency are two different things.
Yeah,
It's
because
They're
not...
both technically virtual currencies, but virtual currencies, I know people, and I actually got in a fight about this on the SL forums a while back, about how, asking, like, are Linden dollars an actual currency? And the thing is that Linden Lab says they're not. But in every sense of the word, they are. They're convertible to other currencies. They hold value. They're backed by something. They're backed by the guarantee by Linden Lab that they are worth something. I mean, they're worthless outside of Second Life. I mean, one person. No, the thing is, Second Life. But here's the thing: one person made an argument about someone said, "Oh well, how about you go up to the store and try buying some food with Linden dollars?" My immediate response was, "That's like saying, why don't you go to Japan if you're U.S. dollars and try and buy a bottle of sake.
Yeah.
That makes no fucking sense whatsoever. You go to the Bureau Exchange, motherfucker. Go to the Bureau Exchange first, and then get your fucking and then use the yen you get from it. Tits.
I think what they meant was, can you transfer like Linden dollars currency value to like actual dollars?
Yes.
I believe that. Ah, yeah.
That's one of the biggest things.
Yeah.
So it's not a one-way street, like, you know.
No.
Yeah.
People cashed out
that's
what
interesting.
the statistic? What was like 60 million US dollars worth of Linden dollars last year?
Yeah, I think it was. Something
Wait,
around,
60?
Yeah.
around that neighborhood.
60 to 65
60 million.
Annually, the GDP of Second Life, with like transactions, the economy itself within the world, is estimated to be about, like as far as the last statistics I remember seeing, $600 to $800 million a year, and of that, creators or people in general, people, you know, residents, cashed out in 1 year approximately 60 to 65 million US dollars worth of Linden dollars to other currencies.
Damn. That's actually pretty
Yeah,
impressive.
that's actually twice the GDP. Like you said, 800 million.
I think it's like 600 to. It's usually between 600 to 800. I think it might be like 650 million, something like that. I forget the exact number that I saw, but it was definitely above 600. And then the cash out was about 60 to 65 million. I think Daniel Voyager reported the statistics on his blog not too long ago.
Yeah, I would say that's actually on par with the the GDP of the American Samoa, Micronesia, and Samoa.
Damn.
Like
That's
those three,
probably...
like it speaks volumes when a virtual world GDP is on par with that of actually real world nations.
You were about to
And
say
that's-
micronation.
Yeah, micronations. Yeah, like it's mind-boggling.
Mm-hmm.
But on the topic of Philip, the whole exchange with Philip and Linden Lab and High Fidelity has left me wondering what exactly Philip Rosedale has in store for Second Life. I didn't have time to put in a question to be answered, but I genuinely hope someone answers it for me. I wonder what exactly Philip has planned for the future of Second Life. I do hope, genuinely, that virtual reality will be eventually on the roadmap. I know people are going to complain that why do we need virtual reality? Virtual reality will never work and all that, and I just see all this pessimism, and I can't help but think, like, I know it's hard to be optimistic about things, and I'm trying to be realistic while being optimistic, but at the same time, I'm just at a loss for what really to do when it comes to the whole what I really want out of Second Life outside of VR. I mean, there are a few things that I would like to see happen. For starters, SL needs desperately an update to its avatars.
Yeah.
Yeah, it needs, the old roof bodies need to go.
Like, as someone who is the newbie and has been more acquainted to VRChat, the models look like they never went away from the mid-2000s.
Yes, that's exactly the issue. Is that they haven't been updated probably since the mid 2000s.
Like, still the same.
Mesh-wise, I know the skeleton was updated with Bento, but that's
But that's the skeleton.
That's a skeleton. That's not the proper mesh.
The changes are not skin deep. They're not skin deep yet.
Yeah.
Puns. Humor.
Yeah.
Jokes. Just.
I was slightly off. The cash out is actually, I just sent it to you on the Discord, Nikki, or to all of you. The cash out was
okay.
80 million US dollars worth,
80
and
million.
the GDP about
Still a pretty
600
big
million.
number.
So no, it was higher than estimated. So the GDP is 600 million, and the cash out is 80 million.
Yeah.
So we're more than $500 million worth of GDP.
I also do have some concerns about Philip returning to the lab, because I know back in the day he made some really stupid decisions. I think one of the last decisions he made as CEO was the whole creation of Zindra, which was a very foot and mouth decision to do.
But wasn't Zindra, like, as you were explaining, like something that was done out of necessity, therefore it was probably rushed?
Yeah, it genuinely was, but they could have done it with a lot more gravitas than...
Yeah.
Was he here though? Because it launched in 2009. Because I thought he left in 2008. I remember. I'll have to check the history right now, but I know. After Mark, he took over. Oh, that's right. He was still on the board, and then left after
the transitional period. Yeah, I believe that covers the Philip topic. Oh wait, oh wait, oh no, wait. Yeah, Erik hasn't talked too much in this episode.
I am ancient. I am
an idiot. I was not transmitting for God knows how long. Oh, Lord Almighty. I need a hot button for that, honestly.
You know what you need? You need a stream deck.
Yeah, I just need I do need a stream deck. I need something like that one of these days. I'll probably pick one up sooner or later. How much are those? Like $40? 50?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
Everything is expensive.
You weren't transmitting at all?
I was not transmitting to the stream.
Oh
no. Essentially what we were I don't know for how long, but essentially what we were discussing was Philip Rosedale was one of the last people working on the Zindra shit show that happened back in the tail end of 2009, 2010. Before he resigned and moved on to work on high fidelity. When it comes, and I wanted to ask Erik before I realized I was being an idiot and left the mic off. What exactly is your thoughts on the whole situation with Erik? Yes, you're coming to the lab. What's your situation with Philip Rosedale your thoughts on Philip Rosedale returning to the lab?
I think it's interesting. Like when I think you and a couple other SL friends of mine sent me messages on Discord and on Signal and just Twitter just as soon as it happened. First my thought, oh sorry, I just saw a horse run by on the road outside your house. That was interesting. I think my first thought was, oh, I wonder if he's back as CEO. And then I saw that, when I dug a little deeper, I realized, okay, no, he's not CEO. They still don't have a CEO that they've announced anyway. He's strategic advisor, high fidelity invested. I think it'll be interesting to see what it does for residents or what impact it has. I think the effect it might have that a lot of people have been talking about, as far as I've seen, is the wish to maybe move toward high fidelity's spatial audio system instead of using Vivox. I just hope that if that is something that they add to Second Life, that it will support Linux as well, because I know Vivox, like I can, and I know you're on Linux as well, I can use Second Life Voice, but it's Vivox stopped supporting Linux officially a while back, so it's kind of, anyone's guess how long that'll continue to work. I think if High Fidelity can kind of come in and improve Second Life Voice in some way, but I don't know, what are my other thoughts on it? I think Philip, I don't know how much, like I know that he and Brad, the executive chairman of the board, Brad Oberwager, Oberwolf in World, he and Philip are going to be having a LabGab episode soon. I think they haven't announced when on the blog, but they took question submissions, but I don't know. Have you seen anything more about when the LabGab is going to be?
I have not. I'm gonna check and see. I think it was...
Because they accepted questions for submission for the LabGab in advance until this past weekend, but I don't think they've announced exactly when it's going to be yet, unless they've announced it today while we've been talking. But no, I think
knowing our luck, they probably have. I mean, the last episode, Easter went up in smoke when we went on air. So.
Exactly. So maybe they save all the big decisions while we're on there. No, I think it'll be interesting. I don't know how much.
It says the special edition of LabGab will be streamed on our socials in late January, so sometime later this month, apparently.
Okay, that makes sense. So maybe, let's say in like a week or two, they should have some kind of LabGab. It'll be interesting. I'm really looking forward to seeing that, because I know, like I said, that Oberwolf and Philip have long been friends. They live not too far from each other, I think, in the physical world. They've known each other for many years, so I think because of that closeness, I think because of that closeness, to be honest, some part of me doesn't think there will be as much of a change as there otherwise would have been, because, yes, now he's officially strategic advisor. I wouldn't be totally surprised, though, if he's kind of been an advisor in an unofficial capacity, given that they live so close to each other and that they're real-world friends. So in some ways, I do think that this may just be like a little bit more of an official role for him, and also, of course, High Fidelity investing in Linden Lab a little bit, maybe the voice technology. But honestly, I think it's going to maybe just give him a more official role.
Yeah, I don't mean to shit in Philip's Cheerios or anything like that. Oh, that's it. Music. I don't mean to shit in Philip's Cheerios, but I just don't find the idea of spatial audio all that appealing. At least to me. I just don't think that it's anything of a major priority. It's something that should be done. We definitely need something to supersede Vivox. Because, for one, it speaks volumes that we're using Discord to have this podcast for voice and not voice.
Exactly.
Because the quality is much better. The only issue I have is that, well, for one, my microphone is atrocious at blocking out everyone else's audio, and I've just decided, fuck it. If people are going to hear everyone else talking while I'm silent, then so be it. Not really much I can do about that.
Yeah.
But I just genuinely hope that with Philip returning to the lab, that things will turn out for the better. And that we'll end up doing better as a platform in the near and distant future.
Yeah, it would be nice if, well, yeah, it'd be nice to have a little bit of that spirit back. I do think
it would be spectacular if we could see Linden Lab put into high gear with this new workforce that's been added on, along with the intellectual properties that Philip has brought over from High Fidelity. It's genuinely something I'm looking forward to, and I hope that I hope that I hear soon about the roadmap for 2022 with what we're supposed to be getting. I've been hearing whispers about us getting physics-based rendering eventually.
And that would be nice.
Yeah, and a few other things as well.
An additional learning curve for creators, but would be nice, of course.
Yeah, but we'll persevere as we always have. We've been through worse.
We have. I think what you mentioned about the team, like I think that will be one of the most immediate short-term benefits. The fact that I think there were like 5 or 6 engineer people, developers from High Fidelity coming over to Linden Lab and Second Life. So I think that'll be great. And I think the other immediate benefit we've seen is that with him coming back, even just as strategic advisor, as opposed to CEO, I think it's been really nice to see how many news outlets or media outlets are talking about Second Life again because of him coming back. So I think if nothing else, his showing an interest in it, coming back in that role, investing in it, I think is really good because it's been giving Second Life another look at Second Life.
It did kind of shake up the media a bit when the news came out, because I heard big news outlets talking about it, like TechCrunch, Wired, numerous other numerous other news outlets just talking about it, and I'm just like, this is really what would really kind of shake things a little, like awakening the beast, fucking bringing back the OG Linden to Linden Lab.
Exactly. Get the media to take another look and realize, oh, Second Life is still around.
Yeah, and it's something that I genuinely look forward to seeing the impact of. I do genuinely hope that the future is bright ahead for both Second Life and the greater Metaverse, because I still hold by the ideal that Second Life should be the beacon on the hill that all virtual worlds should strive to be like. At least in the positives. But I think that we've kind of milked this topic for all that we really can at this point. There's not really much else to go on, other than the subject of Philip coming back and talking about the past events with him and whatnot.
And I'm sure that the people from that are watching this podcast don't need the whole history lesson, because most of them already are Second Life veterans.
Maybe not. You never know. Finally, we're going to get into the last topic of the day, which is a special feature presentation of a trailer for a project that people at Mirai Group, and a few others that I've gotten some help from have put together. Ladies and gentlemen, Snow Crash Redux.
The Metaverse is a mysterious thing, something that has only recently entered the cultural zeitgeist. Some people don't even really know what it is. Others say they're building it right now. They're wrong.
Known as virtual reality, or VR, this new technology uses pictures and sounds to wrap around your senses. Imagine a place you'll be able to step into.
It spans the globe like a superhighway and is called Internet.
On the edge tonight, Mike Hegedus visits another world which by itself isn't something new for either of us. But this world has a .com attached.
A company called ActiveWorld.com has created a real-time interactive 3D world. It's like GeoCities on steroids.
Technology has taken on a life of its own.
A land of infinite opportunity.
It's called Second Life.
Give kids a sandbox where they can build, create, and explore, and then you'll be amazed at what they build and do.
It's an interactive virtual space where users meet up, hang out, and explore a connected world.
If you want the real, virtual, immersive experience, you need to have a headset.
What the Rift does is it makes a high-end virtual reality experience available to the average gamer.
But I'm quite sure
I thought it was just like a one-man production. Huh.
I am an immense idiot.
You're not.
Oh my fucking Lord Almighty!
You're not people. This is just regular for the podcast. We'll hold your attention hostage for a bit, and we'll give it to you back shortly.
Bree! Oh, fuck.
Hang on, I need to.
Because this is why I cannot be trusted with computers. This is probably the worst episode I've done so far. Not because of the content, no, but because of my own sheer incompetence. For
On the
those
bright
that are still with us, I am deeply sorry about that.
On the bright side, you can recycle them. You can recycle this whole podcast and make like highlight content.
Yeah, but I will be editing this to definitely fix some of the issues. All right. The history, it's gonna be split between well, I should probably start over since no one heard what I was saying before. Project Snow Crash, which was the internal name for it, is essentially Snow Crash Redux: A History of the Metaverse, which is a video series that me and a bunch of our people from Mirai Group are working on, as well as some people I have asked to help out, namely Rainee, Erik, and Pacholi Wulara, another friend of mine, who was responsible for the outro title card. Many thanks for that, by the way. I really appreciate the help. It'll be a series of 4 videos spanning from the 1990s to the future. Each video is going to be about 15 to 20 minutes in duration, possibly longer. We'll be discussing, in general, the history of virtual worlds, virtual reality, in the modern sense. I know virtual reality technology kind of dates back to helm-mounted displays back, even I think like as far back as like the 1960s, back when the DoD and the U.S. military was working on concepts for it. But other than that, we are genuinely looking at probably one of my biggest projects ever, and I'm very excited to get started on it. So far, we have yet to start work on the first episode, but we'll be hopefully having a script writing session sometime before the end of the month. I have no words for this other than I'm just really hoping to put my all into this and make a very good piece of content that can really display to everyone just how far back and how detailed the history of virtual worlds on the internet is.
If the trailer is anything to go by, it's gonna be peak quality content. So
yeah,
there's that.
It's probably the best I've probably ever put out. I did some experimentation with effects and whatnot, some basic work, namely with the section where at the start where we're going forward in time, more or less. The video itself, the trailer, will be uploaded to my channel shortly after the podcast goes live. As for this podcast, it will stay up for at least about, I would say, probably a couple days. I'm gonna be busy trying to wind down before I start work later this week. But next week I should have some time put aside to edit and re-upload a fixed, clean version of the podcast. Erik, what are your thoughts on the project, by the way?
I think it's incredibly important. I'm really excited that you're doing that because, as you said, virtual worlds have been around for a long time, and as you said too, like right before it goes to the music, which I love, there's so much talk these days, especially from Meta and lots of other worlds or platforms and companies, and some of them are scams, and they're saying like, oh, we're building the metaverse, or we're building a metaverse, or whatever they call it. But, as you show there, and as I think it'll be really interesting for people to see, this goes back a long time.
Exactly. The whole concept of virtual worlds as a whole is very rich with history. And it's something that, and it's a thing that I've been interested in since I was little. I remember when I was in middle school, I was reading a book in the library about computers, and I remember reading up and finding about active worlds, which was mistakenly called alpha world, and I was just so enthralled with the idea there and then, and I was like, this is so cool, I've got to give this a go. And I remember, and it was like love at first sight. I haven't looked back since, and I'm genuinely looking forward to try and replicate that fascination with this project. I want to show people what virtual worlds are capable of and what all has gone into getting to where we are today. Because it wasn't an easy path. It wasn't. It was fraught with struggle. It was fraught with mistakes and also triumphs as well, as evidenced by Second Life, by Active Worlds, by VRChat. In a way, we all platforms have contributed to the success and the future of virtual worlds, which in turn could possibly be tied into the future of our race, even, dare I say. And that's something I'll get into at the last episode of the series, which I'm really, really wanting to go in depth into. On concepts like fivers, full immersion technology, the concept of transhumanism, things like that, while one would think it's kind of going for a stretch for something like virtual worlds, it's something that you can't help but not ignore when you talk about the future when it comes to virtual reality and virtual worlds. That one of these days we'll be able to abandon our bodies and live in the virtual. Be it we in fucking vats all the time or just mentally uploaded. I, for one, would rather experience it all for myself, so mental uploading, as far as I'm aware, is a no-go. But, any other thoughts on this before we wrap up the podcast?
Not really.
Rainee?
I'm just excited for what could happen in the future. Like, we could have, like, games that we've played here in real life, like Monopoly or Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon, and we can see it happen in the virtual world. Yeah. I know there's a Yu-Gi-Oh! VR variant, the game, and I've tried it out. It's pretty fun. It still needs some work, but...
Yeah, and it's definitely something to look forward to. All the experiences that we've seen in media and whatnot could be very well real and experienceable for ourselves within our lifetimes, making for life-changing social experiences, which I think is one of the key tenets or key points of why virtual worlds are kind of one of the ways that are one of the big pillars of the direction our species could be heading in when it comes to developing our future. And a lot of people, I feel, are closed-minded about that and think that, hooking myself up to a computer and just living the rest of my life in that, and like, what's the point of, like, what's the point in living in or suffering in a fucking flesh husk for fucking 60 years and then you die, huh? Wouldn't you rather be able to live life to the fullest potential you can? And I mean, I personally don't give two shits about authenticity.
Yeah,
if I can see it, if I can feel it, if I can touch it, if I can smell it, I can taste it, then fuck, it's real. I mean, have you heard the people that think that we already live in a simulation?
Raynard, the ghost of Raynard is gonna consistently haunt me with that bullshit. Like, oh no, but there's a little demon side of brains. Let's not get into like philosophical discussions and.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go into a fucking rant and foam at the mouth if I continue thinking about that fucker.
And I'm just really looking forward to discussing both what virtual worlds have come to and what they hopefully will come to be. And I cannot wait to share that with everyone. I genuinely cannot wait. I'm so excited to get started on working on it.
I think it'll be great to see and to share.
And I do have to give a lot of thanks to the people who have decided to help me out on this project and work with me on this project. And I genuinely believe that I cannot do it on my own. And I do need their help. So I do want to thank everyone involved. Luca, Rainee, Erik, Petroli, everyone who's been involved in helping trying to get this project off the ground, and I'm genuinely hoping we can get this project off the ground.
It's a lot of territory to cover.
It definitely is, and I think that with enough time and enough writing and coffee and jokes about the size of Philip Linden's dick, maybe we can possibly get it put together.
You're gonna end on that? Oh god.
Yes. Anywho, that concludes today's podcast. I'm Nodoka Hanamura, Queen of Bountiful Busts and Banter.
And remember, to all the questies out there, I'm gonna mug you for your VR headset.
Yeah, Rui, that's not how you do that.
I'm going to mug them.
You're gonna mug them, okay.
I'm going to
virtually.
Look, I lived in the favelas for 3 years. I have the street cred to mug a kid if I want to.
Rui, I love you. Again, I'm Nodoka Hanamura, Queen of Balance, Bust, and Banter. Erik Mondrian, my co-host. A furry and a human in a furry suit, or a furry in a human suit, I guess.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm a fox. I'm not. There's no human here.
There's no human.
And Kirisame, a drunk bunny rabbit, also our guest host, Rainee, also known as Skye and Inguki. I thank you so much for coming on such short notice, and I really appreciate you coming on. I would love to have you come on again sometime.
Yeah, no problem. As for everyone, I hope to meet you in the Metaverse. Take care.
Alright, everyone. Thank you for watching. Godspeed, everyone. Good teleports. Safe teleports, as Erik likes to call it.
Yep.
Farewell.